Okay, so you guys are going to do monitoring comprehension today for reading. So it's part of your e-learning. So if you remember, we were in a class and we did this excerpt. Remember, an excerpt is just a section from a larger reading, whether it's a chapter or a novel. In this case, the excerpt comes from chapter 22, which is part of the novel of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So they always give you some background information, which you see right here. It says at this point in the story, 2 of the children are already gone. Augustus Gloop has been sucked up the chocolate pipe, and Violet Bogart has been rolled off to the juicing room after turning into a gigantic blueberry. Now Mr. Wonka is rushing his slightly smaller tour group through the maze of factory corridors, whizzing them past thousands of rooms with the strangest titles on their doors. Cows that give chocolate milk, it said on the next door. Ah, my pretty little cows, cried Mr. Wonka. How I love those cows. But why can't we see them? Asked Veruca Salt. Why do we have to go rushing past all these lovely rooms? We shall stop in time, called out Mr. Wonka. Don't be so madly impatient. Fizzy lifting drinks, it said on the next door. Those are fabulous, cried Mr. Wonka. They fill you with bubbles, and the bubbles are full of a special kind of gas. And this gas is so terrifically lifting that it lifts you right off the ground just like a balloon, and up you go until your head hits the ceiling, and there you stay. But how do you come down again? Asked little Charlie. You do a burp, of course, said Mr. Wonka. You do a great, big, long, rude burp, and up comes the gas and down comes you. But don't drink it outdoors. There's no knowing how high up you'll be carried if you do that. I gave some to an old Oompa Loompa once out in the backyard, and he went up and disappeared out of sight. It was very sad. I never saw him again. He should have burped, Charlie said. Of course he should have burped, said Mr. Wonka. I stood there shouting, burp, silly burp, or you'll never come down again. But he didn't, or couldn't, or wouldn't. I don't know which. Maybe he was too polite. He must be on the moon by now. On the next door, it said, square sweets that look round. Wait, cried Mr. Wonka, skidding suddenly to a halt. I am very proud of my square sweets that look round. Let's take a peek. So do you remember reading this? Do you remember the summary of it and what we talked about when we were talking about explicit statements and why you chose that statement? Remember, we chose you do a burp, of course, as our statement, and then we explained that was important because it was telling you how to come down if you drank the fizzy lifting drink. So today, with your novel, you in Canvas will go to your January 14th in your novel, whichever novel that is. Then you're going to click the Monitor Comprehension #1 link right here. And you are going to go to the assignment. And then you're going to click where it says Organizer. And it's going to force you to make a copy. And it's going to open up this page. So then you will edit this page based off of what you read in your novel. So for example, we just read chapter 22, and what are some strategies? So as a reminder, your strategies, remember we made the chart, you guys took a picture of it or you wrote it in your reader's notebook, the fix-up reading strategies. So what are some of the things from this chart that you did? And not only are you using the chart, but you can also use the little box in the lower right-hand corner where it says post-it notes, take notes, use the 5 steps, things like that. So what did we just do? Well, we definitely just reread it, right? So the strategy we used to help monitor and make sure we understood what was going on was reread it. What else did we do? Well, we're still on chapter 22, and we read it out loud, right? Did we do anything else, any of those other strategies in chapter 22? So if we go back and take a look, we reread it out loud. We also did the last one, stop and think, right? We stopped when we got done and we thought about the text and made connections to what we did yesterday. So I did those 3 things. You will do 5 things because you're doing it over a chapter or 2 chapters, much longer section of reading. This is just an example. So how did you apply the strategy? Well, how did I apply rereading it? I reread the entire chapter to help my understanding, right? So how did I apply the read it out loud? When reading the chapter, I read it out loud, right? Makes sense. And then the stop and think. After I finished the excerpt, I stopped and thought about what we talked about yesterday, and also if there were any other things I noticed, right? So you stopped and you thought about it. So this is what you're going to fill out. Once you're done, you're going to go ahead and you're going to submit it in Canvas just like you always do. Now, when it comes to these strategies, I know going back and forth sometimes can be difficult. That chart that I was showing you, this chart right here, is up in Mr. Jones's, Mr. Neal, and my classroom. And you also have it in your reader's notebook. So you should definitely be able to look back at that. But I will also be giving you a bookmark. So let me grab that really quickly and show you what exactly you will be getting. So you will be getting so I would suggest maybe taking a picture of this or stapling it into your reader's notebook as well, because you don't want to lose it, because it's probably going to be pretty helpful. So you're going to get a bookmark that, let me move everything out of the way. My camera is kind of hidden. That looks like this, and I know I have it sideways, but it's on bright yellow paper, and so it has the fix-up strategies. So it has reread, read a little ahead, read out loud. It has all the exact same fix-up strategies that are on that poster. And then on the other side, if you flip it over, you have some of the monitoring comprehension strategies that you can also use. So the fix-up strategies, fix-it-up strategies are kind of those that help you monitor your comprehension, but make sure that you really understand what you're reading, or if you don't, things that you can do to help your understanding. Monitoring your comprehension is to make sure that you really are understanding. So you can use Post-it notes at the end of a page or a section. We've talked about that. You can do a retell chart. You can take just notes, right? Then you have your inferring strategies, those 5 steps that we have talked about in class and that I also have videos of posted. So did you use one of these strategies, and how did you use it to help make sure you were understanding what you were reading? So this is super helpful. Everything on here, on these bookmarks that you have, are actually what you're going to be doing forever when you read, now through college. It'll look a little bit differently with different texts and different levels and things like that. But this is seriously the sort of things that you will always be using. So it's important to practice these things. So that's what that chart is doing. It's having you practice these strategies, monitoring your comprehension, helping when you don't understand something so that you can be successful. So that is what you are doing today. Yesterday you didn't have a lot to do. So make sure that you're keeping up with your reading. And if you have any questions, then you can just ask.